Hi, I'm Mark Hornsby. I'm in Sweetwater Studio B. Today I'm joined by Victor Wooten. Thanks for coming in, Vic.
Thank you, Mark. Glad to be here.
Good. Today we're going to be talking about recording bass. And what better person to do that with than Victor himself.
Thank you very much.
And you've played on tons of records. You got your solo stuff. You've got album stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Let's dig in and talk about sound.
Absolutely, absolutely. Recording bass is something everybody needs to do, but there's different ways of doing it.
Sure.
And so maybe we can discuss some of those today.
So there's 1,000 ways to do this, as you know.
Right.
Use an amp, not use an amp, just go direct. What microphone to use on an amp. Different tracks, different styles of playing. I know you got a studio in your home.
Sure.
What's your take on all that?
Well, basically my take is to be versatile, because what I want on my record may not be what you want on yours. So if you hire me, my goal is to give you what you want.
Right.
You know? And a good engineer or a good producer is going to ask what I want. So I want to, know what I'm talking about and offer my choices. But my ultimate goal is to give you what you want for your record. And to be able to do that, to be hireable, I want to know what's going on out there, what the latest technology is, and I want to be up to date with the different ways of recording bass. Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of people want to do in recording is to use compression on the bass.
Sure.
And I'm all for that, but I will also say that a lot of the times on my own records, I don't use much of it. And it's mainly because I like as much of the full dynamic range as possible. And I'm an old school bassist from the 60s, 70s, where, playing live, we didn't have a lot of money for gadgets and stuff, so I didn't even know what compression was until I kind of started getting into the studio. But for me, I like to be able to do it with my hands, but I also want to know how to use the compressors and the limiters, because compression, a great compression or a great limiter, it has its own sound, almost like an effect. So you can use it to produce a certain sound as well as control the dynamics, but there's a certain sound to it.
Now, speaking of dynamics,
sure.
You are a very dynamic player. I mean, when you play, you go from the softest to the most in-your-face thing. You got this wide palette.
Very true, yeah.
And you're very controlled in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be for engineers or bass players recording at home that maybe starting out, maybe been playing a couple years, maybe they got somebody in their studio that doesn't have that wealth of knowledge under their fingertips that you do?
Well, that's where compression can really help out. For one, I'm more of a live player. I play for people, and it happens. I play the note once and it's gone. Where on the record, it's going to last for a lifetime. And I would say, and this is all my opinion, I can get away with more dynamics live. Get really soft, really, really loud. We're on the record, the CD or the MP3 or whatever. We have to hone it in.
The wax cylinder.
Exactly. You remember those? Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where. And depending on the player, you may need some outside help other than the musician's hands. And that's where a good compression or something like that. But even with the best gear, you need someone who knows how to use it. And that's where you come in. But I think being able to use things like compression and other tools to help create the sound and help actually cover up some of my inaccuracies, with playing, is a good tool.
Well, there's none of those.
There's a few. And we won't talk about those today, but
right.
There's a few, yeah.
So all that is great perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, as you know, they go for the DI.
Right.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
Every box out there has that 1/4-inch input. Hey, if I can plug it in, I can get a bass sound and I can go.
Ready to go, yeah.
You and I both like recording an actual amplifier.
Definitely, yeah.
How does that change your approach when you're laying down a track, whether it's in your own studio or somebody else's studio? What does that do for you as a player?
Well, it gives me different choices, basically. It gives me a choice. I prefer having a DI sound as well as miking the amp, right? I even would say put a mic a little maybe off the amp. If you have the time, if you have the channels, and you really want to go way out, you can mic the room the same way they might do with a drum kit. And this is just my own little trick or tool. because I play a lot of solo bass things. My first record was strictly solo bass, no overdubs, nothing else. And one of the things I do when I'm playing solo bass is I put at least one mic right here on the frets. I want to hear all that noise. Then when I dial that in, maybe add a touch of reverb, it's like pristine and crystal clear.
And you're just blending that in under the DI or the bass signal or both.
Right. Or not.
Or not.
But I have that choice, and
Right.
I love choices. You know, so when miking the amp, for one song, I might love the amp sound. I might like more of the room sound, makes the bass like this. But on another funk tune, I might want it direct. You know, but the amp usually adds some fullness to it that the direct may not have. So the main thing is having choices. And so we want to mic it the best with the best mics. We want the best DIs. We want the best sound so that when we have these choices, we're taking from the best, you know.
Sure. And, you know, going along with that, you know, there's parts of a track sometimes, like I'll be mixing a song where we've got the DI and the amp. And if there's a bass solo, maybe that amp only comes up during the solo to give it that three-dimensional in the sound space. It comes alive, and then it comes back down again in the mix.
Great.
A little more than just turning up the fader.
Exactly.
Cool.
I like it.
All right, today we are running the bass directly into the Rupert Neve Designs RNDI. This is a transformer-driven DI. We like transformers. They're nice and warm and fuzzy on the input stage. We have a purple 1176. You know, one of the things about your playing, when you really start digging in, if we're going to use compression, it's got to be fast.
Right.
An effect compressor like an 1176 is one of the fastest you can get, which is why it's used on so many albums. A really nice, warm-sounding tube compressor is great when you're playing real soft stuff, but if you're slapping away, it's not going to keep up nearly as fast as something like an 1176 will. Right,
because, you know, understanding the attack and release and how to do that, you know, because I want to make sure that if we're going to use compression, but I still want the attack. I still want to hear that on the top of it, but then we got to pull it down. So a good fast compressor, and again, it comes down to the skill of knowing how to use the gear once we have it.
Sure. Out of the throughput of the Neve DI, we're going into this Hartke head over here. What do we got going on here?
Sure, yeah, this is Hartke's new TX600, a lightweight but powerful head. So we're going into that, and that's going into the booth over here where we're playing through running a Hartke high drive 112 cabinet that we're miking it. And this was your choice on the mic. What are we using there?
About 6 inches in front of the cone is the Royer R122V, which is a ribbon microphone with a vacuum tube inside of it with an external power supply. All right, let's play a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harmonic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what I did there. Yep. It's kind of like a magic trick because I always look there when I do it, but the harmonic's happening here.
Yeah.
Right? So all I'm doing is hitting a note and then with my thumb lightly touching it so I get a harmonic. And then I bend it with this hand. So a lot of times I'll do it 2 octaves up. If I'm going to play a G, I'll put the harmonic and I can get a G with my right thumb. Then I bend it.
Sounds like a theremin or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
pretty
depending
cool.
on where I put my thumb, get different harmonics. So, but the key is now is always look away, misdirection.
Right.
But it's happening here.
Good
That's
stuff.
extra, just for you, for free today.
The Neve DI is going into the SSL mic pre. What I do is I get a level on the preamp, and in Pro Tools I'm looking at an average level while he's playing with the track, not just playing single notes, because that's going to be a totally different level than actually playing along with the track. But while he's playing along with the track, I'll get a level somewhere between -10 and -6 average on the Pro Tools meter on input mode. Once that's set, then I'll put the compressor in. The way an 1176 works is when you turn up the input, that's driving the amount of gain reduction that's going to happen. So the input stage of the 1176, it's only at 36 over here. It's not set to a whole lot. The output mode is how much level is going back out to Pro Tools. This is now jumped in between the microphone preamp and the DAW. So if I turn that output all the way down when this is not in bypass, it'll totally kill the signal. I have a ratio set of 4:1. The attack and release on an 1176 can sometimes be a little confusing compared to other compressors. The knob turns from 1 to 7, 1 being the slowest and 7 being the fastest. Same thing on the release. So on bass, I have the attack set to 3, which is slowing down the attack a little bit. So when he hits hard, it lets that transient through and doesn't clip it. So if you hit a slap note or something like that, with the attack being turned back, slower, it's going to let that transient through before the compressor kicks in. And because we're playing a really upbeat, fast song, I've got the release set as fast as it'll go, so it'll get out of the way after it does its job. So when you watch the meter going by, when he's playing ghost notes and some lighter stuff in the track, it's not doing that much. It's barely hitting 1 dB. And when you go to the lower string and really lay into it, you see the meter grab it and take that one transient and just pull it down. Victor, thank you so much for coming by. It's always great to have you at Sweetwater.
Thank you. I'm learning from you. I love this. Let's
I'm
do it
learning
again.
from you. I need that pick harmonic trick. I'm Mark Hornsby. Thanks for watching.